cava is right here, running right down into the heart. In fact, there's the right auricle right there. You can see how blue it is because they pumped blue into this whole thing. So here's the superior vena cava, and then there's two brachiocephalics, right and left brachiocephalic veins. Remember, veins are all drainage, so this is coming in. And then if you follow the left brachiocephalic out, you're going to come to a place where there's a left subclavian and a left internal jugular vein that are draining the head and the arm, which is why this is called brachiocephalic, right? Because it's receiving both arm blood and head blood. And the same thing works on the right-hand side, right? Right-hand side, right brachiocephalic, right internal jugular, and right subclavian. So those are the major veins above. The inferior vena cava is right here, at least part of it. The rest of it is down through here, right? This is the part in the thoracic cavity. We found that. Okay, and then, remember we went under the right lung here to find the azygos vein, which was right here. Yeah, and it's running right alongside the vertebral column down through the rib cage, and it's draining blood from all of the rib spaces here. And so in any one of these rib spaces, there should be, although blue doesn't get into it every time, but there should be a vein draining each and every rib and muscle back into the azygos vein. When you do your blood vessel lectures with page 116, one of the systems there will be this azygos system. And it's a little more complicated in a human than it is here in the cat, but same principle, it's draining the body wall. So there are 10 veins then here in the thoracic cavity that you should be able to identify. Good? Okay, then arteries. If I pull the left lung up, here's the thoracic aorta here, right? And you can follow it back up into the aortic arch, which is kind of shallow in a cat. Let me get this up here where you can see it. Kind of shallow in the cat. But one of the highlights here is the little posterior intercostal arteries are attached to the aorta. So as blood pumps into the aorta, it pumps out into each and every rib. And any one of these rib spaces that you would open up here, you should, if they were colored, you'd find an artery, a vein, and a nerve for each and every rib space. That's why, of course, they're called intercostals. So, thoracic aorta, posterior intercostals, aortic arch. Now, from the aortic arch, you're going to find two major arteries branching off the arch. The one to the side here, to the left side, is left subclavian. And this is going to go straight out and feed the left limb, left shoulder, left limb. The other one here is the brachiocephalic. And so there's two branches in a cat, there's three branches in a human, but this brachiocephalic in the cat is then going to branch 3 times. This one, it's branching not all the same point, but here is the left common carotid, and you can see it coming up through the rest of the neck here, like this. So it's headed for the head and the brain. If I pull this over, there's the rest of the brachiocephalic, and it doesn't quit until it finally divides into 2. And you can see that here. And right common carotid, which you can see running up next to the trachea here and up into the head. And then the right subclavian here, which is running off into the shoulder and the right arm. So we wind up with 4 branches, one for each arm and one for the head. It's just that 3 branch off of here and 1 branches here. So those are the major arteries of the thoracic cavity. And I think so we've got those. And then there are nerves here. And the nerves, we did these as well. The nerves are here, posterior intercostal nerves. So every rib space has an artery, a vein, and a nerve. And if they were colored right, you'd see red, white, and blue alongside each and every rib. One of the things to make note of here too is this shiny membrane that we tore away is one of those serous membranes in that cavity and membrane lecture that we did. This is the pleura, right? And this happens to be the parietal pleura that covers the rib cage. The visceral pleura is on the surface of the lung so that when these rub, there's no friction. So good thing to note while we're here. But we found posterior intercostal nerves, find them on both sides. Second set of nerves, the phrenic nerves, are here, right? And the phrenic, the PHR beginning of that, should remind you of the diaphragm, same three letters, diaphragm. So this is the nerve that comes from the cervical plexus. This is the nerve that comes down and connects to the diaphragm. And there's one on both sides. So there is a right phrenic nerve and a left phrenic nerve, right here and here. They look like this in the cat. They run in the valley between the heart and the lungs. The third pair of nerves then are the vagus nerves. These are running all the way to the abdominal cavity from the brain. These are cranial nerves, run all the way down here and allow the brain to control digestive activities. And the left vagus is right here, crossing the aortic arch. It looks short compared to the phrenic, but it's not. It's just the fact that it runs here and then goes under the aortic arch to the esophagus and follows the esophagus to the digestive system. So we just lose sight of it here, but it's actually much longer than even the phrenic. So that's the left vagus. The right vagus is found over here. Under the superior vena cava is the rest of the trachea, because we could see the trachea up here. And alongside the trachea then is a thick nerve here. And that is the vagus nerve on the right-hand side. We've got a phrenic and a vagus on the right, and we've got a phrenic and a vagus on the left. And then we have all those posterior intercostal nerves. Okay? The only other things here that we hadn't discussed before that you should be able to see is the trachea, which is there, and right next to it is the esophagus. So this brown muscular tube that I'm holding here is loaded with smooth muscle that squeezes the food through peristalsis down to the stomach. So trachea and esophagus can be seen right in that area. So that's the first column. Everybody good?
Is the phrenic or the vagus, are either of them